Hey everybody, it's Mitch, and welcome to my live stream. Not sure if you heard all that, but anyways, everybody, it's Mitch, and welcome to my live stream. This is my, it's my last of my live streams for 200 subscribers. Just like the other ones, this one is, to say thank you to you guys for, subscribing to the channel, for, supporting me and helping me to grow. So I really appreciate that. I definitely could not do this without you guys. So that's what this live stream's for. This live stream's for you guys. Not sure if there's anyone actually in chat at this point. I'm thinking probably not, but I'll try and keep this entertaining for those watching later, because I know there's a decent number of you guys that watch these things later. So yeah, let's see. What could I talk about? One thing I would want to talk about is some things that I'm doing with the channel. So some things that I'm doing are, I'm really pushing hard right now to try and get a lot of videos out, like a lot. And I'm going to continue doing this for at least this month. Probably, assuming things go the way that they've been going. And they'll probably be a lot. I'll probably be pushing even harder next month, assuming that happens. And it's going to be a really hard push with a lot of videos coming out for the next couple of months. So yeah, it'll probably start to die down after that. But considering we're talking about a lot of views or a lot of videos, like I'm doing a lot of scheduled stuff, but only about half the videos I actually make are coming out right now. The rest of them are scheduled to come out later. Some of them much later. Like I think I just made one that is scheduled to come out like January of next year. Like some of these are like that's the only one that's that far, but some of these are pushed kind of far, and and if things go back to normal and I'm able to go back to work, I want to still, and I'm not able to do this anymore because I'll be working. I want there to still be a stream of videos coming out for a while, so that the channel doesn't die, and that things stay things stay the way things stay, and I can keep getting some degree of growth even if I step away. So I'm trying to set up for that. Let's see. So I think I got like, I don't know, 35, 40 videos that are scheduled to come out later at this point. Like it's a lot. Most of them are D&D. There's a few Naruto character reviews. July's going to be a fun month for that one. Yeah, it's going to be quite a few Naruto character reviews coming out in July. Most of the videos that are coming out will be Dungeons and Dragons. You're going to see a lot of build videos coming out, towards the later half of the year, probably about 1 or 2 a month. So that's kind of going to be what to expect. One thing I could do here, because I really should. Now that I think about it, I forgot that I could actually post that I am live streaming. That might be kind of nice. Let me see what I can do about that. Yeah, I don't know if people know I'm live streaming right now. Let's see what I can do. I forgot to mention it on my Discord, which I do have a Discord. I have a couple of videos that have links. If you want to go search for them, you can do that. It's all public and everything. Just letting my Discord know that I am live. In case anybody's around. But yeah. All right. Anyway, so that's out of the way. But yeah, I do have a Discord. There are links in 2 of my videos. So if you watch, you can find them. Not too terribly difficult. Fairly obvious which videos. But yeah, I'm trying to keep it, somewhat under wraps. It's kind of small. The Discord's not really fully set up yet. So yeah, until I get that fully set up, I'm not gonna push it too much. But I do have one. I think I mentioned it in the last live stream too. But yeah, so that's what we're talking about. If anybody joins this, I will be, as always, responding to all questions and comments and everything that may or may not come up in the chat. I'll be here till about 5 o'clock. It's 4:06 right now my time, so we'll see how things go. Yeah. If things are bustling come the end of this, I will most likely, stay a little longer. But, if it's just me talking into the camera for an hour, if that's the case, I'm probably gonna call it right at 5 if that's the case and keep it exactly an hour. But yeah, we'll see how things go. Anyways, the channel, it's right now I'm doing. I'm a little behind on videos, actually. It might not seem it because of how many videos I've been coming out with lately, but I actually should have more based on the schedule I set for myself. I've just been struggling to keep up with it because it's pretty rough. Last week was 14 videos. This week 13. Again, only like half of them are actually showing up. The other half are being scheduled for later. But yeah, it's absolutely insane. So yeah, you should be able to expect a few videos coming out shortly. The next one will actually be, I believe it should be a follow-up to the Dragon Shaman. I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do with that one yet. Still have to look into, what the Dragon Shaman gets and all that fun stuff. But that'll actually be the next one that is released. Hopefully I can do that tomorrow. We'll see. It really just depends on how I'm feeling. I've got a few videos that I'm going to be making before that. That'll be scheduled for later. And then after I make that one with the Dragon Shaman, I've got a few others that I'll be making. Should be interesting. For the next little while, I'm going to be focusing pretty heavy on the Complete Warrior, getting through all the prestige classes in there, which there are a lot. Complete Warrior, I think, has more prestige classes than any other book, at least as far as I could find. At least out of the books I own, I'm pretty confident that it has the most. Sorry, my nose itched there. It's got I think close to 4. I think it was like 37, 36. Like it's a lot of prestige classes. It's absolutely insane how many. So it's going to take me a little while to get through all those. After I finish that, well, actually at the rate I'm going, not so much. It's still going to take me a couple months though. Once I get through that, I am not entirely sure which book I'm going to do next. I'm leaning towards probably either Complete Divine or Complete Arcane. I'm not sure which one I'll do yet. It really depends. But yeah, that's the plan. Yeah. I'm not too surprised that the chat's pretty dead. It's 4 a.m. here. Like, this is really late. I figure a lot of people are asleep, but I figured, I'd want to do this at various different times, that way, people, regardless of what their sleep schedule is or where they're at in the world, would be able to catch at least one of these live streams. Seems my first one was the one that got the most engagement by far. This one I got the least by far so far. So we'll see if that stays that way, or if things change, or what happens. Based on how many people are actually showing up in chat, I'll adjust my next live streams at 500 subscribers accordingly. I'll definitely be using the data I got from this to try and plan my 500 subscriber ones, so that more people are going to be seeing it. Because that's the whole point of these. The whole point of these live streams is to give you guys an opportunity to talk with me, to get some one-on-one interaction, and I guess it's not completely one-on-one necessarily, but like to be able to like have me respond to your questions in real time. Like I've been in live streams of bigger YouTubers. Oh, hey, we got somebody. Yaku, I was hoping it. At least I think I'm pronouncing that right. I was hoping you'd show up. I suspected you might, considering I think you said you were from Spain, so that makes it probably not a ridiculous hour for you. But yeah, this is kind of the same as previous live chat, the previous ones. Just having a conversation. Mostly been talking about the changes or not the changes, the what I've been doing with the channel lately. But if you have anything you want to say, yeah, it's 4 a.m. for me right now. But I'm a bit of a night owl, so I'm up. Yeah, I figured as much. Yeah, you said you're from Spain, so I'm like, yeah, it's probably like morning or like afternoon or something. Like it's probably a pretty reasonable hour in Spain. So yeah, it's just kind of how Europe is. I kind of figure Europe's more or less like 8 to like 10, 11 hours ahead. So it really depends on which part. And Spain's pretty west. So yeah. Anyways, yeah, whatever you want to talk about, like it's kind of this is your guys' stream. And I guess since you're the only one here, your stream. This is my thank you to you guys for subscribing. So, it's just opportunity for anyone who shows up to have a chance to talk to me in real time. So, yeah. If you have any questions or comments or anything, feel free to let me know. But yeah, I was mostly talking about what I've been doing with the channel, how got what was it? I'm doing crazy numbers of videos right now, and probably will for the next few months. Do you watch D&D streamers? If so, who is your favorite, or any honorable mention? I actually don't. I've seen some YouTube videos before. Like I've watched. I mean, it's mostly 5e. Like, as far as I know, I'm like the only one that really does 3.5 stuff anymore, or really ever has, since the internet wasn't that big back in when 3.5 was big. But yeah, the ones I watched that I have watched in the past, I used to watch College Humor did Dimension 20, Brendan Lee Mulligan. Yeah, it's super niche, but yeah, I watched Brendan Lee Mulligan's Dimension 20 on College Humor. Those were pretty good. I didn't ever pay to watch like the full thing, so I only got like the first part of this, like the first few episodes, and then it's like, oh well, I guess I got a nice cliffhanger that I'm never gonna get answered because I wasn't gonna pay for that. But yeah, that's the only one I've really seen. I really liked the second one where they did kind of the Lord of the Rings parody. They had Matt Mercer as one of the players in that group, so that was pretty cool. I kind of enjoyed that one. Let's see, in terms of other D&D stuff, what was... I don't watch a ton of it, but I have watched, what was her name? I think Ginny D or something like that. I've seen some of her videos. They're pretty good. Um, yeah. Um, I've watched a bit of the 3 and 5 stuff that does exist. I know what Woodwad used to be the big name in that back when this started. He actually started a few years before I made my first video. Um, so I watched a few. I watched a few of his videos. They weren't bad, but I really didn't like how just very critical he was, and how he tended to be really harsh on things. So I wasn't huge on that, and I really like what I didn't like from Woodward is something that really shaped how I built the channel. Um, like I really try and focus on the positive aspects of all the classes and races and prestige classes that I do, and I try not to dump on him too much because I really did not like how he did that. Because I really do believe that any class, prestige class or race, can be good in the right build. If you build it right, it can be pretty good. Yeah, some are going to be better than others for sure, but I wouldn't say any class or prestige class or race is necessarily bad. Um, yeah, so some are definitely better than others, though. No question on that one. But yeah, it also comes down to role play aspects and all that fun stuff. So yeah, that's something I really took to home. I really took home with that. Um, in terms of other 3-5 guys, there's not much else. At least not that I'm aware of. I've seen a couple of guys who have had, a couple of fairly successful videos that were on like one class or race, or generally just one class from the player's handbook. So I've seen a few of those guys, but they've got like maybe 10 videos at most, any of these guys. Some maybe 20. Like it's pretty small and none of them are really active. So, um, it seems like they're not really putting in a whole lot of effort into like trying to actually grow properly. Like, they haven't made a video in years, which I've done in the past. I can't say I'm perfect on that one. Let's see. Usually build my encounters around the players, so even more specific characters uh, or more gimmicky can shine sometimes. Yeah, exactly. Like I kind of tend to do the same to some extent as well. Like the base story is, going to be not too designed around the characters, but I might throw in some hooks that are designed around the characters, or individual encounters could very easily be designed around the characters. The main boss fights and the big elements will generally be fairly generic and not designed around them, but I could throw in like some elements in that will really fit around the characters a bit. Like right now, I'm actually being a little mean to my players, and which kind of follows because basically, the campaign that we're in, it's the devils have taken over the world, and you know, they have to conquer. They have to like reclaim the world back, and the devils aren't too thrilled about that. So they're kind of going at the players, and yeah, this dungeon, there are multiple rooms that are specifically designed to counteract the various members of the party. So each room, like there's going to be at least one room in this dungeon that's specifically designed to take down each member of the party. So that's something that I've been doing, kind of the opposite on that. But yeah. Um, yeah, I absolutely agree that anything can shine, like even like some of the more gimmicky stuff, especially if yeah, especially if you design it that way. Yeah, but I really do I really do believe that, which is why I don't dump on stuff. Because I mean, Uh, yeah, you definitely can use it. So I don't do it a lot, but I have been using. I do tend to sometimes do that, mostly because I've been way too nice to my players lately. So I've changing course a little to try and make them suffer a bit. Um, they're likely the amount of experience they're going and treasure they're going to get from this dungeon is absolutely massive. They are so likely to go from like level 23 to possibly even level 30. I don't even know. Like it's uh, the number of like CR 20 plus encounters that have been in this dungeon is just massive. Because my players power level like crazy. So, in order to make something that's really challenging for them, I have to make it absolutely ridiculous in terms of CR. So it's been a bunch of small CRs. They've been at this for months now. I think they started back in the summer was when they entered this. I think it was the start of fall. Like summer was just ending when they entered this dungeon. It's so massive. I have a player who is building a crit based character, and I already have undead mini boss. Nice, very very nice. Yeah, immune to crits. There's a lot of different things that are immune to crits. Undead, constructs. This dungeon has so many golems in it; it's not even funny. Yeah, this golem's just littered with iron golems because one of the 9 lords of hell is Dis, and this is like his dungeon. Like, well, him and Mephistopheles, they've teamed up at this dungeon. So there's a lot of pit fiends and a lot of iron golems. So yeah, the iron golems would also be immune. But yeah, that's super nice to have a undead. Undead can be so nasty too. There's so many different kinds too. I'm guessing probably a lich if for a mini boss. Liches just make really good bosses. But there's plenty of others that are good at that too. So hard to say in all reality. But yeah, Liches is one of the better undeads bosses in my opinion, especially seeing as they can often control other undead and have a little army. So that can always be super nasty. A nice lich cleric, nice evil lich cleric. Just goes blasting. Inflict minor. Inflict mass spells. Those are pretty good for an undead cleric with an undead army. uh, just as deadly as a cleric with cure mass spells would be against said army. So yeah. But yeah, definitely can be fun. Hopefully hopefully one of the other players has a cleric, because clerics make undead they just make undead so weak. Clerics are, which is something I really think is a fun dynamic. Normally you see the cleric not doing much damage, just kind of he's kind of the healer doing his thing. Some of the time, sometimes you can build really good clerics for damage, but sometimes you'll see the cleric not doing much damage. All of a sudden, meanwhile the rogue's just destroying everything. Then all of a sudden you're fighting undead and it just gets turned around. The rogue can't do crap and the cleric's suddenly your main damage dealer. So that's something. Let's see. Also, same party has no casters, and I have in mind a combo of a caster plus a devoted defender PRC that can tank hits for a character. For a Minotaur, not Minotaur, for a Minion Mancer build, there's no better than the Dreadnought. Oh, yeah, that's true. I haven't looked at that in a while, but that's actually a prestige class that was in my game. One of my characters, he was a Dread Necromancer. Yeah, he was something. I think the Dread Necromancer might have even been the cohort. Yeah, I think it was a paladin, and his cohort was like a dread necromancer. It was absolutely ridiculous. Yeah, it was. A dragonborn paladin named Draco, and his cohort was a a necromancer named Shaggy, who was like literally Shaggy from Scooby Doo, but a dread necromancer. It was absolutely ridiculous. He didn't stick around too long because one of his friends was playing a game, and he jumped ship. But so I can't blame him. But um, yeah. No, it's a base class and it allows you to have 4+ character hit dice of undead. Nice. That's pretty good. But yeah, freaking it was nice. He had a paladin with a dread necromancer cohort. That was absolutely insane. I mean, I've seen crazier stuff, but still. Um, yeah, you can get absolutely ridiculous if you really want to build an army. Um, I mean, Thrall hard, like that's one. If you want to build an army, Thrall hard's probably the best class in the game. Um, yeah, but a paladin with a necromancer is, yeah, it really is. I'd never heard of that before, but it was really cool to see. Um, Yeah, but if you really want to build, if you really want an army for your character, you go Thrall hard, and then you have like one of your thralls be like a beastmaster, and um, you can have another one, be an evil paladin, um, an evil paladin blackguard with just really cheesing the crap out of that, getting your special mount, and then also the two special minions that the Blackguard gets if they're have levels of Paladin. Marshall. I forget what the Marshall gets. It's been I've heard of it. I'm not super familiar with that one. Dragon Shaman. Yeah, that one I haven't looked at in a while. I'm going to be looking at that real soon. As I mentioned earlier before you showed up, the Dragon Shaman. That's this. I'm actually my next video that'll be coming out will actually be my follow up to the Dragon Shaman, because one of the series that I'm been working on. So far, it's been all post dated, but that's actually going to be changing here, like now. Um, is I look at my most viewed videos on my channel, and then I do a follow up to each one of them. Sorry, I got a bit of a hiccups. But yeah, ooh, nice. Auras would be really, really nice if you got an army. That and a bard. Um, just especially a Dragonfire Inspiration bard. Throw in just a ton of extra damage on every single attack. Very, very powerful. Um, yeah. Oh, hey, we got Loyal to the Law of Murphy back. Sweet. Um, welcome. Warhulk with Might Makes Right from Races of Pharaon, sorry, add your strength bonus to your leadership score. Oof, nice. That would be really, really nice. I'm not super familiar with Warhulk, but dang. Yeah. I guess it'd be okay on a barbarian build, but most of that only applies during rage. So I'm pretty sure you're not going to be recruiting cohorts and followers while raging. So that doesn't really work. Um, I mean, you can't maintain that for long enough to do that. Um, yeah. But yeah, that does sound pretty nice. Although honestly, Thrall hard, like 100% Thrall hard. They get to add their Thrall hard level, um, and they get 2 Thralls. And the first one is 1 level higher than the cohort, and The second one is the same level as a cohort. So yeah, plus not any of those pesky downsides of having to actually take care of your cohorts and followers, or being penalized for it. Thrallhards, they can let their minions die as they please, and it doesn't hurt them any. Yeah. Warhawk, I believe, gives a +2 to strength per level for. Oof, nice. That is really good. And good morning, Uruwao8. Good to see you here. Yeah, but who dares tell him they won't follow him? You got a point to that, but they're not going to be the most loyal. You know, ruling by fear has its issues, especially seeing as cohorts are technically DMPCs. Most DMs, including myself, will the vast majority of the time let the cohorts let the cohorts act like player characters for the most part. But they're really DMPCs. The DM has the right to take over a cohort or followers anytime they want. In fact, the player, I don't even really let fully control the followers. The followers, they can give them base directions like, hey, yeah, I want you guys all working on, crafting stuff, but, I'm going to be the one actually rolling that. So, yeah. Also, you're literally dumb. You only are useful to hit things hard. Yeah. I mean, those are fun builds, though. I love builds that are really, really big on that are really unbalanced. I really like those builds. Those are the most fun. I love having 2 to 3 negative stats and 2 to 3 like 18s. Like that's like the perfect character for me. Yeah, not for good players perhaps, but I find it very funny on evil bosses. Yeah. Absolutely. Evil bosses definitely can be more fun. You can. One of the issues with making evil bosses that I found as a DM is they're fun, but they're also designed to die right away. So you put all this effort in, and then like half of their abilities they don't get to do before they get killed, and a lot of it is wasted effort, which is really unfortunate. So that does kind of suck. I found. Whereas with players, eventually you're going to find a use for everything you put your effort into. As a DM, like half the stuff that you do ends up for naught, which kind of sucks. Well, depending on how you actually run your game as a DM, there's two ways. There's the preparation method and the let's just wing it method. I do a little bit of both, depending on the situation. Yeah, I was blocking my face a little. Figured you probably would rather see me a little bit better. Anyways, let's see. I just thought of something fun. A muck dweller, tiny reptilian race with a war Hulk cohort. A war Hulk cohort. The tiny lizard tries to get the massive hunk in the ways of their god. Interesting. With enough diplomacy such leadership, you can basically play a Pacific Rim style. I'm not familiar with Pacific Rim. I know that's a movie, but I've never actually seen that movie, so don't quite get the reference on that. But I do know that if you have diplomacy and leadership and all that, you can really change the game up. If you're gonna do that and you're a good character, I would highly recommend Vow of Poverty. Not Vow, well, Vow of Poverty, yes, but highly recommend Vow of Peace and Vow of what's the other one? The one that's really similar to that, Vow of Nonviolence. Very, very good if you're going to go the diplomacy leadership route. Um, giant mix versus giant monsters, interesting. But yeah, if you want to go the route of just using diplomacy and just like not doing combat and just like, hey, let's just talk our way out of everything and influence our way. Yeah, um, there are definitely builds for that. Might do a video on that at some point. Now that I think about it, because those can be really good. Yeah, Vow of Peace, Vow of Nonviolence, pretty good. Pretty good for that particular build. Terrible for any other build, but yeah. And let's see what. From Complete Divine, what was it? The Proselytize? No, the Evangelist. Yeah, the Evangelist would be really good for a build like that. Plus Bard. Yeah, a Bard Evangelist would be really good for a non-violent build, which that really changes that campaign. Like, if you're going to do a build like that, even more so than the Frenzied Berserker, you really need to get your fellow players on board with that. Because with the Frenzied Berserker, that's an annoyance after battle where they're going to have to figure out how to, survive the Frenzied Berserker turning on them once the battle ends, and also try and, get the Frenzied Berserker back up. But if you're doing a peace build, oof, like that just completely changes the game. Like, you can't participate in combat. You're basically trying to avoid combat. So if all your other players have like all these combat builds, they become useless, and that's just terrible. So yeah, you definitely want to make sure everybody's doing similar builds if you're going to do that. But or they can do other builds that are just support. You can definitely make a lot of things work for that. But yeah, it's definitely something you're going to need the whole party on board with, or at the very least, like, do a split or something where they are like your army that fights and defends you. Meanwhile, you try and strive for peace and prevent the need for armies, but they take care of things when things pop up. So I mean that's a thing, but yeah, it certainly changes things, and you definitely, I'd say even more than the Frenzied Berserker, need that. But yeah, giant mechs versus giant monsters, interesting. With Frenzied Berserker, you can have a all cleric party that buffs you and then runs away until you calm down. You would also want some of those clerics to be bold enough to come at you while you're still enraged, because while you're still in frenzy, because there's a good chance you're at negative HP, and you're gonna need one of those clerics to to come in and heal you while you're trying to kill them, which is a really, really funny dynamic. I've seen it played out. It is absolutely hilarious to see the cleric trying to heal the Frenzied Berserker. Meanwhile, so that the Frenzied Berserker can end his frenzy, so he doesn't die from negative. So he doesn't die as soon as he ends it. Meanwhile, the Frenzied Berserker is trying to kill the cleric, who's trying to heal him. It is absolutely hilarious. It is a very common thing to see with Frenzied Berserkers. You can do some amazing diplomacy with Marshall or Bards. Oh yeah, I'm not super familiar with Marshall, but Bards 100%. That are still fun for your combat friends because of all the buffs when it inevitably goes south anyway. Yeah, if you want to go super heavy on that with Vow of Peace, Vow of Nonviolence, less so. But yeah, those feats are absolutely amazing for nonviolent builds. But they they really make it hard to do violence. Um, yeah, they can become a real problem if your party wants combat. But yeah, there are absolutely things that can be done. What would you say is the most creative character that you've seen? Ooh, that's a good question. Most creative. Um, well, I'm not gonna lie that the Dragonborn Paladin with a cohort who was a Dread Necromancer that was Shaggy from Scooby Doo. That was certainly creative. Um, let's see what else have I seen that's been really creative like that. Ooh, that's a good question. I haven't seen too much. Most of what I've seen has been like theoretical builds. I've done way more theoretical builds than I have than I've actually seen things in practice. Just because it's you can only do so much. There's a huge time investment for actually seeing characters in like the actually acting. You gotta have an actual active campaign, and you can only get so many at a time, and half of them aren't all that creative. um, Most of them are just really optimized, more than creative. um, yeah, let's see. I've seen some fun stuff. One of my friends, he played a gnome who was pretty interesting. Um, he had he rolled garbage for charisma. This guy had like a 3 charisma. Um, so he was definitely a creative one. Yeah, he was very proud, very self like he loved that people hated him. But and he was like he saw it as like a badge of honor. Um, it was really funny because what we did for the opening for him was uh, I was the DM in that, so I actually said, so yeah, you're leaving town, and uh, well, when they came back to his town, he found shortly after he left, he found that they were having a good riddance party. They're like, we finally got rid of him, and he crashed the party and was just like, hey, you're having a party for me? Sweet. Thanks. That's awesome. When, like, it was legit a good riddance party. We finally got rid of him. Like, they were celebrating him leaving, and he crashes the party. It was so funny. That was one of the more creative ones I've seen. Um, his build, I guess, wasn't that crazy, but the way he played him was awesome. Let's see. I once played a monk that was always smiling, even while fighting, and his donkey Sancho was the only mount that survived the campaign. Wow. Um, all other PCs adored him as the immortal god. That's awesome. And yeah, freaking crashing your own good riddance party, because like his charisma was just horrible. Like everybody hated him in that town. But yeah, that does sound awesome. The freaking donkey surviving, that's hilarious. um wow. Dang, that sounds like a rough campaign too. I generally won't kill off the players unless they're just stupid. Um, like even the tough fights, I try to kill off maybe 2 or so of them. Like I generally try and kill like 1 to 3 of my players in like the boss fight. That's kind of what I try and do. Like if a couple of them die, I think I did a good job. I'm like, that was a good fight. Um, Now if I goes a little heavy, now if personally, I think what would be a really good fight would be if the players narrowly survived. If like only one person, if only one person actually survived the fight, and it did happen to be somebody with resurrection. I think that would be the ultimate fight where like it would take them like a week or so to like really regroup after, because that person would have to revive the others, and then they'd have to get spells back, and Yeah, personally, I think that would be like what I would aim for. But I wouldn't want to go too far. So I usually aim to kill like I have a party of 6 right now. I usually try and keep it between 6 and 8. But I usually will try and kill like 2 to 3 in the boss fight. The campaign was about a zombie apocalypse. Whenever anything died, it would raise as a zombie seconds later. Nice. Uh, it was though. It, it was though, and I learned to not trust nobody, especially the DM. Uh, yeah, I'm guessing you probably mean tough. Um, uh, Yeah, I've been in those kind of campaigns. They can be fun. I generally prefer them to be less intense than that, but I've been in those before and they can be enjoyable. But yeah, I generally prefer the difficulty level to be the kind where, hey, as long as you're trying and not being a complete and just being completely stupid, you know you're probably gonna live. Um, I generally prefer those ones. Now, if you're being an idiot, yeah, you should die, um, like 100%. But if you're being reasonably intelligent and you're not just, you know, doing dumb stuff for the sake of doing dumb stuff, and actually playing the game properly, I think it should be difficult and you might struggle to survive, but there's a good chance you'll live, or at the very least, most of the party will live, and somebody will be able to revive you. I generally keep the difficulty fairly low until people are able to get resurrection, and then I'll jump the difficulty up because death isn't so bad. Played with a dwarf cleric who made potions, faith healing, and used combat encounters to try and convert allies to his deity. Interesting, very interesting. Um, that actually reminds me of a dwarf I played once. Very, very different. But let's see, he was such an a-hole. I might have talked about him before. Um, Basically, what he was, I generally I'll start when I make a character. I'll generally roll stats first. So this guy, technically, I didn't roll him. I was playing with a couple of friends who were married, and they had a kid. The kid wasn't playing, but to let him participate, I let him roll my stats for me. And this kid rolled me 3 18s, a 5, a 3, and a 4. I think it was a 14. Maybe it was no. I think it was a 12. Was the last one, which was just absolutely insane. So I made a dwarf. Well, I didn't get high enough to do it, but I made a dwarven fighter who was moving towards dwarven defender. 18s in all his physical stats. The 3 in charisma. No, the 3 in intelligence, 5 in charisma. So he had a 3 in both, and the 12 in wisdom. This guy was a beast, but he was also a dumb a-hole. Like, oh, like it was so bad. Yeah, he was vulgar. I definitely never played this character when that kid who rolled the stats was around, because no, the kid was like 4. There's no way I would be playing that character around a 4-year-old. No, he was bad. Yeah, he was he was certainly a fun one. I had a game where my players needed to enter an abandoned mine, which was infested with cultists, and take a sword. They would fight a boss aberration, a hard but definitely possible battle. Yeah, yeah, those are the kinds I like to see. That sounds really fun, actually. Um, yeah, now I'm starting to think of all sorts of fun characters I played. Oh, I played. This was actually Pathfinder, but in the one Pathfinder game I actually played, he was. I played what was it? A cleric, but this cleric had just no intelligence. My DM, he decided to try a new stat rolling system, where You just rolled a d20. That was one of the options. I chose to take it, and I got a couple of really high rolls. I think I got a 19 or a 20 in there, which was nice. But I also got a nat 1, so this character had a 1 intelligence. It was absolutely hilarious. Technically, he shouldn't have been able to speak, and I was all for not like having to stick to grunting noises for communication, but the DM was like, no, you can speak. So I'm like, all right. So I decided I would speak like the Hulk. So I was literally always, when playing this character, like never using big words. I would always try and talk like the Hulk, be like, his name was Rogar, and I was like, Rogar, say we do this. And occasionally, like, there were a bunch of like really intelligent characters in the party, and they'd always be talking like in character. And occasionally, like when they did that too much, especially if they used a lot of big words, a few times I would literally just slam the table and be like, "No, use big words." It was absolutely hilarious. I loved it. So yeah, I played a few fun ones. I really like super imbalanced characters like that. Anyways, let's see. They started fooling around and eventually led to the creation of 3 of those aberrations, and 2 PCs died, all their fault. Yeah, like if you're gonna play dumb, you deserve to die. Sorry, I had to write in 2 parts. They had fun though. With 1 int, you're like an ooze. Yeah, I mean, he should have been like, but the DM said he could talk, so I just gave him like really basic communication skills. He had a crap charisma too. His charisma was also absolute garbage. He was also a little bit of a racist too. Like I forget what race. I think he was a dwarf. Yeah, he was a dwarf, and he really hated elves. Like, he was really racist against elves. That was such a fun character. I love playing characters like that. Like, my 2 favorite kinds of characters to play are so opposite of each other. I either like to play really dumb a-hole brutes, or really pompous casters who are like hyper intelligent, but like absolute garbage in a fight. Like, just real wimps, but like super, super smart and just really good casters. I generally will play one or the other. Yeah, those are my 2 favorite builds to play usually. Very, very different. But yeah. Yeah, I've played some interesting ones. I definitely have started making some videos like that. Those are all post-dated. A lot of them for much, much later, like several months from now. But I have been starting to make some of those videos. So yeah, that's definitely something to look forward to. I'm trying to do post-dated videos mostly. So if I have to, if I go back to work, there'll still be videos coming out. Also, I'm thinking of what you mentioned. Also, since I have probably like 35, 40 post-dated videos at this point, if I do start to push my Patreon more, I am thinking of putting like all those videos up there as a reward. Yeah, just a thought I have for now. I mean, of course, they'll still come out on YouTube eventually, but like you'll get them like before, like, yeah. Anyways, intelligence 1 is the dumbest of animals. Yes, very true. Oozes don't even have an intelligence at all. Yeah, that's true actually. 1 is more like a crocodile than an ooze. And you say the dumbest of all animals, but animals are really a 1 or a 2, so it's really just the least the less intelligent half. Since about half have a 1, half have a 2. So technically, yes, it's the dumbest of animals, but it's really the bottom 50% of animals. So I mean, there's only 2 options for an animal. It's either a 1 or a 2. Animals never have more intelligence than that. Smart animals have a 2 intelligence, like dogs and horses. Yeah. But yeah, that character shouldn't have been able to talk, but DM said he could, and I did make this character as dumb as I could. Let's see. I once played a very proud Dragonrot Kobold sorcerer that had practically only buff spells. The narrative behind it was that he really thought that he was worthless, and because of that, and use that proudest as a defense mechanism. Yeah, that sounds that's certainly interesting. So he had low self-esteem, so he decided to just buff everybody else because he's like, well, I'm pretty useless, but I'll help you guys be stronger. Certainly an interesting character. I could definitely get behind that. Uh, it's I'm the type when I play that I really like to embody my characters. Same with when I DM, but far less so because there's just no way to really do it. But I like to really I tend to see my character as like my avatar into the game. So generally I'll put a piece of myself into my characters. So like when I'm playing like a pompous, when I'm playing like a pompous caster, like that's me being like, yes, that's what I'd like to be. Or, if I'm playing a brute, it's like, yeah, this would be fun. Things that I'm absolutely not at all in real life. But I try and put myself into my characters. Yeah, that's just how I play personally. And yeah, I've definitely got some self-esteem issues, so I could definitely make a character like that. But anyways, his name was Flavio Malavio Nice, and had an NPC assistant called Nori, that was the smarts of the pair. Nice, very nice. I definitely do like the idea of having cohorts that are that balance. That can be really nice to have. Um, and I actually really like that name. I've done stuff like that. Like a couple of characters I made some know-it-all brothers. Their names were Dimble and Gimble Ningle. Purposely designed to be confusing. These guys were just absolutely mad. The DM, I messed with the DM so much, and he loved it. But uh I really messed with the DM hard. Like I just kept like sabotaging all his plans. Mostly because between the two of these guys, they had, every single knowledge in the game, max ranks plus really high intelligence. One of them was really good with divination and mind reading and all that fun stuff. So he was able to glean a lot of information out of the DM that he probably shouldn't have been able to. Meanwhile, the other one was like all sorts of illusion magic and things like darkness and stuff and obscuring mist. So he was able to, they were really, really able to control the information flow and really mess with things in a major way. Anyways, kind of in the party was a warlock. Instead of making a pact, he drew his powers of his blood, who became friends with him, and thanks to him, he became more proud. Also, his dream was to be a true dragon. Interesting, very interesting. I've seen some characters like that in the past. Well, sort of. I definitely played with back when I was playing 5e. One of the characters was very, very proud of his dragon heritage, and he really played that up hard. So that's just what that reminded me of. A little bit different though. Yeah, that's actually pretty cool though. Yeah, there's so many fun builds that you can make. Like when you first asked the question, I'm like, I can't really think of anything creative. But like the more I think about it, like the more and more like really creative builds come to mind. So yeah, there's a lot of really good ones. I mean, my favorite character I played had like a massive, massive backstory. Like I think I wrote 100 pages of backstory handwritten for this guy. And then I actually wrote down, also handwritten, his actual story, and not all of it. I stopped after about 150 pages, but it was absolutely massive. Like, I really got into that character. That was the fighter druid that I made. I really like that character a lot. His whole gimmick of never using anything that he didn't make himself, and like being very self-made and not relying on others. That was a really fun build to do. I actually based it off of, weirdly enough, it was actually off of Rambo. I think it was like the fourth Rambo movie, like the one like no one talks about, because that was the first one I saw from the Rambo series, weirdly enough. And like I saw where he was like being a blacksmith out in the woods or whatever, out in like I don't know, somewhere in the Pacific probably, and like that's kind of what inspired that build. And yeah, I kind of a weird one. One of my favorite characters I've played and now is a solid piece of the lore of my world. Also out of D&D, had a character named Anto, who was a knife thrower at a circus. Didn't have any complicated. Assuming there's more to that, and you just hit the limit. But yeah. Oh, dude, you can get so powerful with throwing builds. I've seen some really, really nasty ones. That sounds really powerful. Not gonna lie, that's a really good one. Yeah, really, really nice. Um, yeah, dude, you can, if you really build those throwing builds right, you can do some stuff. But yeah, he definitely sounds interesting. Yeah. I think there's a prestige class master thrower. That's one of the better ones for a throwing build, if I recall correctly. Um, yeah. At least for a dip class, I'm not sure if that's when you actually go full into or what. Yeah, there's like it's dang near impossible to fully fully understand everything. There's just so much to 3.5 that you know like when I do these build, like at some point I've known everything from all these books that I've talked about, but you know after you read like five or six other or not even five or six, once you've read a couple more dozen prestige classes or races, you start to forget about the one that you did like a month ago that was like 12 prestige classes ago. Or some of these I did like years ago, so I don't remember them that well. But I knew how they worked really good when I made the video. I researched the crap out of them before I actually make the videos. But yeah, let's see. Didn't have any complicated story, but his personality made me fall in love, which is weird. But man, I relate to that a lot. Like that's the kind of characters I like the most. And was always longing for a family. Ended up in an asylum because he attacked the circus master, and there discovered his. Ooh, interesting. Yeah, I like characters like that. Like one character that I made that I really enjoyed was again my 5e campaign, just a cleric not a cleric, this monk I named Speedy. Anyways, let's see. Circus master, and there discovered he is lycanthropy. Ooh, nice. And a group of also like lycanthropes, misfits like him, who we could call family. Ooh, that's a really good story. I like that. That's nice. I like that a lot. Um, yeah, uh, really, really nice. I haven't seen a lot of lycanthropes in games. It's a cool idea, but I haven't seen much of it. I think partially because it's not a super optimal. What was a super optimal option? But or super optional racial template. That's what I'm looking for. There we go. But yeah, it's not bad. Let's see. A couple of levels of Bloodhound is interesting on a martial damage focus build because it allows you to knock your target out instead of killing it. Ooh, interesting. Monk can also help with that, but only if you're using unarmed weapons or monk weapons, I guess. It was a werewolf, the same universe as Vampires of the Masquerade. I've actually played a little Vampires of the Masquerade, not much. And it was I didn't really like my DM very much, so that didn't go very well. But yeah, that way you don't instead of that way you don't break all of your DM's toys while still getting to break down doors with a giant greatsword. Yeah, that would actually be really fun from a DM perspective to have players that did a lot of knocking out, because then you can recycle enemies and throw them back at you later. Because it's really hard to have reoccurring enemies in D&D 3.5 normally, because once things get killed, when to do the common anime quote from Fate, things die when they're killed. Like, I mean, yeah, there's revive and stuff, but resurrection and all that fun stuff. But yeah, you can. It is trickier. As a DM, I'll say if my toys attack you, it's because I want you to shred them. Yeah, that's generally the case. But if my players are actually, making non-lethal builds, there's a good chance I probably would take that into consideration and build NPCs, villain NPCs that are designed to come back and attack afterwards. Because that's just fun, especially if your players are kind of giving you the green light to do that. For the lycanthrope, interested. The Were Touch Master from Eberron campaign setting is a very interesting alternative. All the goodies of Werex, but more evenly dispersed over levels. Interesting. I haven't really looked much at all at campaign settings. It's something I tend to avoid for the most part. I tend to stick to more of the traditional Splat books for the most part, but like your complete books, your race books, your your environment books, stuff like that, I tend to stick to for the most part. But that does sound interesting. Part of the reason why I've avoided settings books is just I tend to prefer custom settings where like the DM comes up with everything, where you play, I guess, the Greyhorns, not the Greyhorn. Sorry, it's late. The Greyhawk. There we go. The Greyhawk setting, but it's custom worlds that the DM builds and all that fun stuff. That's generally what I prefer. I generally even avoid like pre-built campaigns, like when you can like look up a campaign online that someone else already built and just run that. I generally try and avoid those. Like, if I'm going to DM, I'm going to make the world, and I'm going to make it just for this game. And I generally prefer GMs that do the same. Now, I have seen DMs and I have played in pre-made ones before where the DM didn't make it. They were okay. And I played ones where the DM made the game but did not intend it to be the only time it was run. Like my favorite campaign was the DM has actually used that setting for other groups. So, and he's had other groups run through that same game. When I played GURPS 4th edition, which I will be making videos on that at some point fairly soon. My DM, he did actually, like the game that he had us run through, we were his second group to run through that. So, I've seen that before, but usually it's Usually even then, like the DM made the game, it wasn't pre-made or anything. Uh, I generally prefer those. I don't know, just feel I just like the feel of it better when you know the you know the DM is the one who created everything, and because you generally your DM is going to have a better grasp of what's going on. I mean, I guess with the settings books you can still do that, but less so since they have like defined town names and stuff. So yeah, there's that. Anyways, it is getting kind of late. It's already 5:10, so I'm probably going to be wrapping this up here in a minute. If you guys got anything you want to say, like if you're already working on type and stuff, I'll stay for a couple of minutes. But um, what's your favorite race? I recently discovered the Vril Goblinoid of the Underdark, who are usually slaves of the Drow, which have a screech ability and can harden their skin to resist damage. Ooh, that sounds really nice. That sounds pretty cool, actually. I've seen a number of races that are pretty good. What's my favorite race? Ooh, that's a great question. Um, Honestly, I'm kind of boring. I think I'd have to say human, like legit. I mean, yeah, I know it's the most boring race, but but at the same time, like I can understand it a little better because I am human. Like it's the one D&D race that's actually based off of real, like a real world creature, and one that pretty familiar with since I am one. Um, yeah, but they also, those extra feats, that extra feat at first level, those extra skill points, um, the fact that they can make whatever class they want be their favored class. Well, technically, it's whatever one's the highest level, but still, um, yeah, that's honestly human. It's kind of a boring race, but I like it. Exactly. Yes, it's the most customizable, 100%. And if you really want customization, human fighter, like that is the most boring of all, but also the most customizable of all. So, um, human fighter is actually a pretty decent starting build, like for someone who's brand new to the game. Um, Not the best. I think a barbarian's one of the better ones to start out with. Um, yeah, Wizard's one of the worst. Like Wizard is absolutely horrible to be your first class. But yeah, I think I'm going to wrap things up because it is 5:12. I was only planning to do this for um, you know uh, an hour, and it's already been a little over. So, but yes, fighter is kind of build your own class, but yeah, so I think I'm going to wrap things up. I'm already a few minutes past. Not going to be doing another live stream for a while. The next one will be when I hit 500 subscribers. So, it could be a while, could be soon. It really depends on how the channel does. Um, yeah, and yeah, the wizards definitely can be build your own class because it's how you pick those spells, which is also why you should never have, well, but wizard even more so. That's just why you should never, ever, ever, well, I guess never, not ever, ever, but it's one of the new players shouldn't take it unless, well, shouldn't be wizards unless they really, really feel comfortable. They should be heavily warned before going wizard. Um, Anyways, I think I will be wrapping it up here. I won't be doing any of these until I hit 500 subscribers, but I will actually be doing 5 live streams once I hit 500 subscribers. So it'll all be an hour and a half long. So, if the channel grows and I hit that, we'll be doing some more of these. Probably have more people in the chat then too, because, more subscribers. But anyways, for now, and as always, I'm Mitch. I'll be seeing you.